In this screencast, I want to showcase the new exception handler and template in ColdBox 6. In ColdBox 6, you will find in the config ColdBox.cfc our custom error template for the configure function inside of this structure called ColdBox that is empty. And that's okay. It is empty because it maps by default to the ColdBox exceptions bug report public. This is a bug report that is for public consumption. It has not much information on it. It basically just describes the exception, but no stack traces, nothing that could help an attacker create a vector in order to hack you, basically. So we do that to be security conscious. You can actually create your own error template as well to make it pretty, do whatever you need to do. You can do that there. However, in the new ColdBox 6, under the development area, you will find two new settings. ColdBox.exception editor, which is the editor of choice in your machine, so it can actually open files for you. By default, it's VS Code, so you might see this or you might just not see it. Okay, it depends on the application template you're using. But just note that there is a way to choose which exception editor you're going to be using for opening files. The default is VS Code, like I mentioned, but there are many others like Sublime, TextMate, Emacs, MacVim, IDEA, which is Atom as well, and Espresso. So many of them can be used by just setting that setting. The next setting is the ColdBox custom error template. This is basically where whoops is going to be defined. Okay, the old ColdBox 5 approach to the bug report is still available. Okay, so you can use that as well. But the whoops is the new approach to exception handling that I want to showcase today in this video, which is the default for all the ColdBox application templates. And you can find it here, ColdBox System Exceptions, whoops. And if you want to check it out, you can check it out there as well. That is pre-configured, so I don't really have to do anything. It comes out of the box. You can see here on the right, I have this ColdBox application running. Okay, I only have one handler right here called index. And it basically executes, right? And then I have another event called data, right? So I could execute that as well. So I can say main data, okay? And that produces some nice JSON. So let's try to actually introduce an exception. So let's go to the main action, and let's say that we make an exception here and call it set funky view, like we did in your unit tests in our previous screencast. Once you refresh the page, you will see that now you get this lovely little exception template, which is whoops. It tells you there was a ColdBox exception, the date timestamp, okay, the expression that actually occurred. So you can see here, ColdBox system context request context has no function with name set funky view. You can even copy it to your clipboard, okay, so you can send it or whatever you need to do with it. And here is our stack frame. So this is actually the exceptions as tracing from where it came from. Okay, you can see that the handlers is where the exception happened. I can actually click on it and you can see the controller is the one that actually invoked it. You can see the invoker right there. You can see that that also came from another invoker inside of the controller, and so forth and so forth. That can actually follow the full exception trace even from application.cfc. So even to the line which gets highlighted right here on this little pseudo editor, but it's not really an editor, it's just a code viewer, okay? So it's a nice way to visualize and pinpoint, okay, oh my gosh, what happened? So I can see here that I made that mistake, obviously that doesn't exist, and then I can proceed to see how to fix it, okay? I can also have these exception details which can be actually shown full screen, and you can see here the error details, right? I can filter them. I can see the framework snapshot of what happened inside of the framework at that time. The database, if there was any type of database interaction, you would see your SQL code. Any of that information will be here. The request collection and the private request collection will also be shown here at the time of the exception. Any headers, any incoming request headers are also going to be shown. Your session information, so you can track anything within your own session and within the application itself. Any cookies at the time of the exception, and the raw stock trace as well. So you can even take that raw stack trace and copy it to your clipboard and do whatever you need to do with it. Now, one of the greatest things we've added in order to make this exception handling a lot better in ColdBox 6 is that I can actually go ahead and let me close here so you can see that I'm not cheating. And you can actually open the actual exception template right there, and it'll open to the line of code that created that exception. So I can actually come in here and boom, fix my exception, and I'm done, right? I can even go and trace all the way down and even open those traces, right? And that helps me tremendously when I'm debugging, because right from within the exception manager now in ColdBox, I can actually navigate the code and figure out what happened at the time of the exception. So this is brand new, and it is just amazing to work with exceptions in this approach, because it is very intuitive and it really shows you a pinpoint location where the exceptions came from. Now also you have a nice little button to reinitialize the framework and reload if that's needed as well. We fixed our little bug here so I can refresh, and now I am back in presentation mode. So lots of work went into Whoops. Thanks to Eric Peterson for making that happen, and now it's part of the core. If you want to see more IDEs being supported, we definitely would love some pull requests, or just send us any tickets and we'll be glad to assist. But hopefully this will be a brand new approach for you when you're developing to fix issues within your ColdBox applications.